What does persecution mean in Christianity? Persecution is an act of harassing, oppressing, or killing people because they are different. Christians are persecuted because their belief in Jesus Christ as a Savior does not conform to the sinful culture around them. The Bible records persecution of God's people both in the Old and New Testament, and Jesus warned his followers that they would face persecution. Today, we'll hear real stories from students about the persecution of their grandparents.
My grandpa has experienced the persecution when he was taken away to an orphanage because his parents were Christian. His siblings got taken away too. He was only 5 when this happened. It was really hard for him to learn and be around people and he had extra work to do.
My grandmother experienced persecution as a child. She was an excellent student and teachers would constantly lower her grades. When she grew up, she was as a minor and she was constantly called to the director's office to lower her salary, and they wanted to get her away from God. They lowered her salary by 75%.
Rudolph is my great-grandpa. He got persecuted because he was Christian, and he also got beaten up and hit with a stick and got bullied because he was a Christian, and the teachers lowered his grades.
So my great-great-grandmother was Olga Cornelia. So Olga's parents had a lot of land back then, and Russia wanted to take it. So they had a list of names, and they took everyone except my great-grandmother and grandfather. My great-great-grandfather was taken to a concentration camp, and he died there a week later in a gas chamber. Olga and her daughter were taken to a different concentration camp, but there was like little bread per person. It was very cold, -30 degrees every day. So Olga helped her children survive by making sweaters like this. If she needed more like food for her family, then she would trade her clothes for more bread and food to feed her family. 3 years later, they got their release letter, so my great-grandmother walked all the way there to get it, and then they had to find someone to read it because they couldn't read it, even though my great-great-grandmother had the whole Bible memorized. So after that, they were the only ones out of the whole camp to be released, and my great-grandmother would tell people who experience persecution, even though you're persecuted for Christ, we still can't lose faith in Jesus Christ.
Valia Babic, she lived in Dalishich, Bryanska Oblast. She was a devout Christian. She raised her children to be Christians, and the government was upset because of that. And the leadership gathered the village for a commerce court to take away the parental rights of my grandma and grandpa. And the leadership said that the children were neglected and not cared for, but the villagers knew the Babin family well and knew that they were fed, taken care of, and their house was clean, and they were example to others. And the villagers said that the government should be worried for other children's safety because their parents are alcoholics. This is how God saved my grandma's life. The advice that my grandma gave to people who have persecution is to trust God even when it's hard, and to ask God to strengthen your faith, and that He will give you the wisdom to say what is right.
My grandma got persecuted when she was in school. They gave her really bad grades and her friends. They didn't let her go to college.